2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Put your glass right on, join me high. We'll have some fun when the clock strikes one. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. When the clock strikes 2, 3, and 4, if the band slows down, we'll yell for more. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. When the chimes ring 5, 6, and 7, we'll be right in 7th heaven. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. When it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 2, I'll be going strong, and so will you. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight. When the clock strikes 12, we'll cool our bends. Gotta rock and round the clock again. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. We're gonna rock, rock, rock till broad daylight. Gonna rock around the clock tonight.
At what point did I lose total control of this program already? I think I'm just going to have a beer. Don't put that on Channel 4 tonight. Lord knows it's not going to be that organized here tonight. The way everyone's having a good time. Good evening and welcome to this amazing 50th reunion of the St. Louis Park Parkettes, the world's greatest high school dance team. My name is Mark Rosen, St. Louis Park class of 1970. We've had the pleasure of reporting on everything from the Miracle on Ice in Lake Placid. In fact, Kim Strobel is here tonight, whose husband I interviewed after winning the gold medal in 1980, Eric Strobel at Lake Placid. We had our own reunion last year in Lake Placid, which was just a marvelous occasion. So I've covered that. I've had Super Bowls, other Olympics, World Series, Final Fours, you name it. I've interviewed everyone from Michael Jordan to Sandy Koufax, my boyhood hero. So why am I absolutely a nervous wreck tonight? Let me count the ways. I'm feeling like Albert Brooks in my favorite movie, Broadcast News, with the flop sweat here, because I'm in a room full of Parkettes, my gosh. And to think I used to sweat it out in Roger DeClerc's speech class and how nervous I used to get. This is nothing. I mean, I actually said hello to Andy Harris tonight. You have no idea what that was like for me. On behalf of all the guys in 1970, Andy's coming down the hallway, and I would just cower in the corner. Well, I'll tell you, I feel like Napoleon Dynamite trying to hit on the prom queen here tonight, except there are so many of you. I don't know what to do. Ever since the big article in the Star Tribune came out a couple weeks ago, what a great article that was publicizing tonight's event and the history of the Parkettes. I want you to know I've received dozens of emails. I know we have a lot of men here tonight who are probably dragged kicking and screaming to come here tonight, but you guys, congratulations for coming here tonight. I received dozens of emails from guys who went to Park who wanted me to pass along to everyone in the room that it took most of them 20 years of therapy to get over all the rejection that they dealt with asking out the Parkettes back when they went to school, and that that's okay. They all ended up marrying women like their mothers, and life is good. So, hey, I want to thank a couple of people tonight, first of all, who twisted my arm to get here tonight. My wonderful cousin, Jill Kasdan. I can still call you Kasdan. Class of 70, whose late father, Irv, near and dear to me, and I hope you guys had a chance to see some of the wonderful film, the video out there. The remarkable scenes at Met Stadium from those great days with the Vikings, of the Parkettes performing at all those Viking games, as you guys know, especially in 1969 and 70 when the Vikings actually won some playoff games. And I got a sneak preview last night at Beth Kimball's house, and who's the other one I must thank, first of all, and what a wonderful hostess she has been for her tireless work as well in helping put this program together tonight. In fact, yeah, that was great. Way to go, Beth. In fact, I was the only guy in the room last night with, I think, 20, 25 women from 1970. God, that was heaven. I mean, it was honestly, it was so great to see some friends that I haven't seen in such a long time. Everyone in this room looks so fantastic. What's in the water in St. Louis Park? I mean, my God, everybody turned out so great. Creosote, yeah, the creosote plant. Yeah. You know which way the wind was blowing, depending on what you smelled when you wait for the bus to go to school in the morning. And I look at those images. I saw them last night, especially the 1970 NFC Championship, or NFL Championship game, as they called it, against the Cleveland Browns. And there are the Parkettes with those skippy little outfits, the skirts, and those frozen smiles on their faces. And there's Parkenden and Page and Eller and Marshall and that great gang running through their gauntlet there, and Bud Grant, of course, without the gloves. And you talk about an image literally frozen in time, and the significance of that and what the Parkettes meant to the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to hear more about that a bit later. It's marvelous, and it's wonderful to think about, the generations that are here tonight, and I've had the chance to meet so many of you already, and the smiles on the faces, the ones, and we're going to hear from them in a few minutes as well, who kick-started this thing many, many years ago, and to hear their stories. I never realized until I read that wonderful website about the association of the Parkettes going all the way back to the Laker games. I had no idea, and to think about the association they had, and I'm sure they'll tell the story. I'm talking out of school here. The one story I heard already about Red Auerbach of the Boston Celtics saying, "Get those girls off the court," when he was running, when they were cheerleading at the Laker games. But I also want to thank the St. Louis Park Historical Society for playing such a big role in getting this event started tonight as well. And I know the Parkettes will be a big, big part of the future of that society as well. And I think all of us, and the one thing I've gotten across, I did some interviews already I know Mark Setterholm's putting together a great tape here that all of you have a chance to get later on as well, and doing some of the interviews from some of the people spanning the generations of Parkettes. And the one thing that comes across so much, and what I always talk about, is the immense pride that people have coming from St. Louis Park. And it's just extraordinary. I know at last night's get-together, you could just see it in everybody's faces. And it's not just for the class of 70, of course, but just everyone. The neighborhoods that we all grew up in, the closeness that we all feel with each other, that our neighbors, the bonds that were established back then that will never, ever be broken, no matter what paths our lives have taken. And I don't think that could ever be duplicated again anywhere. I'm amazed at the people, and I was talking to Tony Swigum tonight, and you flash back, all the stuff that all of us are so busy with, raising our kids and the jobs and different locations and moving, and you think about, man, I can close my eyes and be back in Hattie Steinberg's room in a heartbeat. Really, and hear Pete Peterson and Roger DeClerc and George Olson, that crazy man. But those teachers had such an impact on my life, and I'm sure many of the people in this room tonight. And maybe you don't appreciate it at the time, but God, you sure appreciate it later on. And look at the alumni, the people I'm closest with, Tommy Friedman, my goodness gracious. And his wonderful article that he wrote about room 313 after Patty passed away a couple years ago in the New York Times, and Tommy would come back and he'd say, "Yeah, man, you're doing really well here at CCO." I said, "Yeah, I look at my Pulitzer Prizes every day, Tommy. Yeah, you're doing a great job." But that's the kind of impact that we all have in our lives. And in fact, just this past week, and maybe it's just coincidental, I reconnected with probably just a half dozen of my close personal friends from that time. And it's like we picked up conversations from 35 years ago, and I know that's what's going on in this room tonight, and that's the beauty of it. It's like, I can't remember, I parked my car like a half hour ago, but we're talking with Mark Setterholm tonight and all these other people about conversations of people we met and what it was like, and and just the neighborhoods we grew up in. We could leave the doors open all the time. And I feel so blessed that knowing that all of us should know that there are so many good friends we made from our time at St. Louis Park that who will drop everything to be with you in your time of need, and that's the greatest blessing of all. And within that larger community, of course, is the one we are here to honor tonight, of course, the St. Louis Park Parkettes. And we have a great program for you tonight. To start our evening, well, let's go back 50 years, to be exact, to 1956. 3 sophomore girls in St. Louis Park High School had a little bit of an idea. And I guess you could say the rest is history. Please welcome the founding mothers of the Parkettes, Diane Berger-Lark, Mary Evans Eckenberg, and Sarah Lindmark Halverson. That's really nice.
You maybe should have said grandmothers. But I realize, quite honestly, I have not thought about the Parkettes for about 48 years. But in the last couple months, I've really realized what this event and this evening means, and it's all about memories and stories. And so I'm going to start out by starting this evening with the opening story. There were 3 sophomore girls, once upon a time, who had a terrific boys basketball team back in 1956. And that basketball team went to state or regionals in Williams Arena. So Sarah Lindmark and Diane Berger-Clark and myself, Marianne Evans Eckenberg, we were sitting in the bleachers and we were watching during halftime this dance line of high school girls, the Roosevelt Rockettes. And we thought, wow, we've never seen anything like that before. There wasn't a whole lot for girls to do activity-wise. So we just started talking about what a neat thing it would be. As far as I know, in the state of Minnesota, there were only 2 dance lines at the time. I think North had the Polarettes and Roosevelt had the Rockettes. There were absolutely none in the suburbs. So we decided that we were going to hatch this plan to have it at St. Louis Park. And Diane went in to talk to Mr. Foltmore about it, our principal at the time. And she had a list of people she wanted to have on the line. And he said, oh, no, you have to have tryouts and you have to find a choreographer. So it just so happened that the basketball team took us to Williams Arena, and we needed to search for a good choreographer, and that's where Sarah came in.
And I was not the choreographer, believe me. I think we all know that the Parkettes would never have gone as far as they did and included so many people had it not been for Mrs. Fran Libby. And I'm not going to take very long here because I know you're anxious to hear from Debbie, and Debbie's going to give a wonderful tribute to her mother. But Fran was, it was her dedication and her hard work and professionalism that helped us organize this group and become the very first dance line in the Minneapolis suburbs. My only connection is that our families, the Lindmark family, knew the Libbys from church, and Debbie Libby was one of my sister's best friends. So we had a very appropriate connection there, and Mrs. Libby was willing to take on this enormous task, and because of her energetic enthusiasm, we did get it off the ground and became the first dance line. So I don't want to take up any more time now. I think we need to hear from Debbie.
Well, you know, they asked me to talk about my mother and your memories, and I said, gosh, I remember her as my mom. I don't remember her as a choreographer. So they put out, all points bulletins to everyone in email and said, please send me your remembrances about Fran Libby. And I got such great things back. It just was really heartwarming and brought back a lot of memories. My mother was born in 1916, and in the 30s, she went out to Hollywood and studied with Caserta who was a choreographer, and came back and opened up a dance studio on Grand Avenue in St. Paul. That probably lasted for about 6 years. And then she got married, and I came along, and we lived in St. Louis Park. And I rode my tricycle up the road and met my neighbor, Kay Anderson. And I was 2.5. She'll always be older than I am. She was 3. And all of a sudden, another dancing school was born. And so my mother had Kay and myself who would dance, and then she brought in some of the neighborhood people. So we met the Lenmark family, and of course they knew about this dancing. So of course, as they told you, when this happened, they contacted my mother, and she was more than happy to join into that. She, of course, had been brought up in the days of Ziegfeld and all the dance and all the chorus lines and all the tap dancing. So this was right up her alley. She had this ragtag bunch of high school girls, and trying to instill discipline in them was a challenge. She had, I think there were 16 of us to start out with, and of course, Kay and myself, the dancers, were kind of grandfathered in because we were, neighbors and blood relatives. And so we started, and the things that I got back from everyone in their emails were very much the same line through everyone. She instilled discipline, commitment, teamwork, loyalty, and really responsibility. And if you work hard, you get benefits from it. And that takes you through life, really, no matter what you're doing. And it just was so nice to read all of those things from people. They also sent things about learning responsibility. I know that someone sent me, they came to I think it was Barb O'Neill. She came to a performance and she had forgotten her black underwear. They had a black outfit with crinolines and she didn't have any black underwear. So she was able to borrow one from someone. They put about 6 safety pins in it. And my mother said, go out there, make it work. Don't ever let this happen again. And I bet she never, ever let that happen again. Another thing I heard was you never were late. I think after a while she went to the point system. It didn't, listen to this. It didn't matter if you were sick, you had a broken part of your body. It made no difference. You got demerits. And people were telling me, it's taken me through my life. I always, I need my costume on time, so now when I'm packing something, I make a list. I know that everything has to be in order. Someone else said, gee, I was out there and we had a little corduroy outfit with crinolines underneath it. And as they were kicking away, the crinoline went, this way and that way. They came back in and, my mother said, don't you ever let that happen again. She was a tough cookie, but she also knew, listen to this. But she had a heart of gold. She thought that travel was just as important as any education you could get in school. And so, we started this fan club and we were traveling. And, this was people across the gambit. There were people who had a lot of money, families who had none. And somehow when people couldn't pay for a costume or they couldn't find the money to take a trip, somehow that money just appeared. And my mother would make some excuse, some strange thing, some very odd thing that all of a sudden this money would appear so that everyone could go on these trips. And I think that, from all the wonderful trips that were taken through the years, I think that it has been very beneficial to everyone. It really broadens everyone's horizons. Now, I know I got a little feedback on, she had a whistle, a coach's whistle. And when she blew that, boy, you better line up and you better be straight. She had nylons rolled up. And of course, back then you wore house dresses. You never wore pants or anything like that. So she had her house dresses and she would chew her blackjack gum. But if you chewed gum, you were in big trouble. You know, it was such innocent days. When we started with the Lakerettes, of course, I was always bent out of shape because I had to go home with my mother. And we were the Lakerettes, and we were all in love with Hot Rod Hundley back then. And I had to go home with my mother, but all the girls who were older got to jump in a car, and they would wait for Hot Rod Hundley to come out and follow him to Buster's Bar. I think that's called stalking nowadays, but they would do that all the time. So, of course, I was always kind of, you know, a pouty little teenager. Well, I was 13 or 14 years old, and everyone else was in high school. But it was great fun. We went out, just so many things. We went out to Glacier Park. One year she was there, the first year. The second year, she didn't come with us. It was absolutely fantastic. We had a great time. But you know, we went to Radio City Music Hall once a year when I was a kid. And we'd either go to the Easter show or the Christmas show. And we would watch the kicks. We would look at the costumes. Well, we wouldn't go back to the hotel and go out for dinner. We would go back there and, okay, now what kind of kicks were those? And what did the costumes look like? Let's, you know, do this and that and the other thing. So she was always, always just so dedicated to the Parkettes, to all of her girls. And she just loved doing what she did. So I just am so thrilled to see all of you here. It is, you know, the only thing she asked was perfection. And you know, she got it. You rehearsed and you rehearsed and you rehearsed until you were perfect. So thank you so much for being here. She would be so proud.
And you know, Debbie was talking about how tough her mom was, and reminded me I think I still have a vocabulary test I got to make up with Lorna Goines. Any Lorna Goines fans out there? Never mind. Okay, so girls, come on up. up is the family of Tony Swigum. And I had the pleasure of sitting next to Tony tonight at dinner and her wonderful family, and everyone was stopping by to say hello. Two of her daughters were Parkettes as well. Lisa from the graduating class of 1979 and Pam from the graduating class of 1981. Please welcome them, or at least one of them, as they'd like to say a few things about their mom, who was the second choreographer for the Parkettes from 1970 to 1985.
Good evening. It's been such an exciting time waiting for this reunion.